Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the collaboration space. I'm your host, Nancy Lucier, and joining me today is Ben Hardy, who is a senior product manager at Sharp NEC Display Solutions. Ben, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me on here.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you could make it today. And I think we're going to chat a little bit about digital signage. We're seeing a lot of needs change in the workplace because of everything that's been going on in our work environments. Can you share with us some of the trends you've been seeing and maybe some of the feedback you've been getting from customers?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, I think that customers as a whole have been a lot more critical in really understanding what it is they need to accomplish their goals. What I mean by that is that there's not just your typical digital signage display right now, because what once was needed to show signage from a customer's perspective is now also needed to also show certain COVID distancing information and such like that.
Right.
And so we're finding that customers, they don't necessarily, dependent on the application, need all of the bells and whistles that they have in the past. Sometimes they just need a reliable and trustworthy display that can effective and efficiently show the content that they need to put up there. And that's even more so important, I think, here with the coming holidays. We have, and sorry, I don't mean to cut in or anything.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
but ease of content distribution, easy and secure ways to control the display, and then making sure that the messaging that's necessary is up there is really critical, especially as we know the airports and such are going to be a lot more crowded here over the next couple months. So
We are back to
um,
traveling, so that's good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you mentioned content distribution, and because of our health and safety and because of travel, content's probably going to need to be updated, pretty timely and maybe faster than before. So it sounds like, that's something to keep in mind too, is how fast you can update your content on your displays.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, so we're seeing that there's a lot of sort of dual purpose types of displays as well. Obviously, speaking about transportation, dual purpose would be the display needs to be able to show its FIDs or something like that. But then, in a whim, also switch over to be able to show whatever the COVID regulations are that are for that particular area. Outside of that, though, I mean, if you're talking about like the corporate space or something like that, we're seeing a lot of dual purpose types of displays in that. Where there's a conference room that's not really being utilized as a conference room right now, because of still limitations that are necessary based on how many people need to be in a room and so forth. We have them, or we've seen customers utilize them for really showing their message or showing digital signage. And then, when someone were to come into the room, the display would automatically switch over to then be used as a presentation device. So there's a lot more sort of unique ways that customers are using screens. And I think that, like I said before, they're being a lot more critical in what they need the screens for, really on the front end, because there's a lot more, things to think about now in this time and age. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned automation because, a lot of our conference rooms maybe have been sitting empty and we have to dust them off and we don't know how much they're going to be used or how many people are going to be in the room at the time. So, talk to me a little bit about, how you take the customer's pain points and then kind of process them and come up with solutions.
Yeah, so honestly, it's about understanding the true customer needs and sort of being able to pivot and develop product in a more agile way based on those needs. Or it's about the customer understanding certain types of features and functionality that they might not otherwise be taking advantage of with current product that they are already utilizing. So for that example, like in a corporate type of area. Where if there's a conference room, like you mentioned, we don't know how many people can be in that conference room or something like that. A lot of times there are certain triggers that can happen on the displays, the commercial displays, that can be programmed into the screen so that if a customer were to come into the room, it would automatically switch over and then be used as a presentation device. And so those types of things and education to customers who have current screens that are capable of doing things like that are really stuff that we've been focusing on, as well as sort of ensuring that from our development cycle and for really from what we've been doing on the manufacturing side of things, we're kind of agile in getting new product to market as well, because we still
Mhm.
have to build to grow and such. Obviously, the one direct result from the pandemic and the various shutdowns is that there have been constraints along the supply chain. Really from raw
Yeah.
materials on up, and that there's a trickle down effect, obviously, that happens there, that ultimately hits the customer perspective. So, as I said before, most customers want a reliable, bright, clear, and really secure type of display. that will, effectively and efficiently show the content that customers were intending. And so, from our perspective, we need to really be cognizant of that and understand, just what the customer needs and what they're going to use, the features they're going to use, and maybe, not necessarily go and develop the most high-end type of product as far as a componentry standpoint, because there might be some allocations or stuff like that we can't truly affect.
Hmm.
So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we can get product to the customer that they're really going to need and utilize in this day and age, and in the quickest that we can as well. So that kind of tied into our message series and how and why we developed that line. A little while back, we wanted to develop a product line that had sort of a tiered approach that allowed really the integrator
Yep.
to define what product was necessary to the customer based on their needs and their applications, and that's really where the message series lies. It's got three sort of lines in there, sort of a step down, step up, step down approach, depending on if the customer needs certain features and functionality, while still all of the product lines having a sort of baseline functionality that really truly makes them truly commercial for a majority of their applications.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that, you work together with integrators. So, AVI-SPL and, Sharp NEC display solutions, that's something we do very well together, is kind of get tuned into those customer needs and kind of deliver the best solution.
100%. Yeah.
Great. So that's about it for this edition of the Collaboration Space. I want to thank Ben Hardy for joining us today.
Thank you, Nancy. Very much appreciate you having me here.
You're welcome. And of course, as always, I want to thank all of our listeners and just remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at AVI-SPL Info. And also, if you want to listen on the go, you can listen to the audio version of this podcast, and you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
For more information, visit AVI-SPL/Sharp NEC displays.